We are live. We are live. Good morning. Good morning. We are a bit late this morning. We've both had a bit of tech issues. Morning, everyone. Welcome to another Conversations with Compassion with me, Helen Ferguson. For those of you that don't know me, I'm obviously Helen, and I'm a specialist trauma therapist for high achieving, high performing entrepreneurial business women who are experiencing the responses to trauma from childhood sexual abuse, specialise specifically in those areas. And I started Conversations with Compassion to really destigmatise the idea that self-compassion is self-indulgent, that it's lazy, that it's narcissistic, that it's egotistical, that it has no place for entrepreneurial business professional women who are succeeding, but actually also feel as though that they're not taking care of themselves. They don't have space for themselves. So because I hear it a lot when I'm working with women, because I guide women into thinking and welcoming self-compassion, because it is the cornerstone of their healing journey and it's the cornerstone of self-acceptance. So this morning I am so excited. I was saying to Dawni, I don't think I've bigged her up. I've actually just said who she is, and I'm so excited that Dawni's agreed to come and talk to me this morning. I've been looking forward to this one immensely. I'm not going to introduce Dawni anymore. I think she'll do it much better than I can. So Dawni, over to you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi everybody, I'm Dawn. I loved that you called me the UK's leading female entrepreneur. That was really special, so thank you for that. I have a invested interest in supporting female entrepreneurs, and I have a funny but beautiful way of doing that in quite a teacup storm of different elements. And in terms of what people think I do, people think I am just a social media strategist, a digital marketing expert, and I have a digital marketing agency as well. And that's all true. But actually, and one of the good things for the reasons that we sometimes talk and why this conversation is so important is actually that quite often I can be the first step and you know, the first non-doctor like step for emotional support for female entrepreneurs when they're going into that space where actually they're having to learn to be visible and be seen, possibly for the first time in their life. Because you know, we build these businesses and we say that we need audiences and we need to do that in order to gain clients, but then when you actually step out into that light, you have to be vulnerable and you have to show yourself, and you have to, especially if you're working with a personal brand, you have to be that person that actually comes out and is there, open for everyone to see. So over the years, I've realized that actually, in order for me to be able to successfully support women to be that person, to have that digital marketing strategy, all of the tangible, really good business stuff, actually, you have to care for and support the woman.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. That's like a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
I feel as though that is, because that's how I met you. You know, listening to you saying that, and I was thinking about when I first came across you, and I think it was one of your challenge. I think it was a challenge I did of yours, and you know, and it was about, you know, going live, and that I hadn't even thought about needing to go live for my business. I actually hadn't thought I needed to do a lot for my business. But there was lots of things that I hadn't actually done as part of my business, and so being visible, being out there was part of that. And so meeting you, I think it was 2 years ago now, I think I did that. That was, you know, listening to you now is like, yes, you connected with the woman, the kind of, and what I needed as well. So it's absolutely right, and everybody needs Dawni, in my humble opinion. No, in my professional opinion, everybody needs Dawni. Not in my humble opinion, in my professional. this morning we're going to rock the conversation of self-compassion, and I wondered if we could start, Dawni, if you could explain or share with us what self-compassion means for you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when you sent me that question, I made a conscious decision not to prepare, and because I just wanted to give you my honest thoughts. And I think that was because I have a relationship with self-compassion now, that it isn't something that I have to consider. Like I already have an organic answer, because for me, self-compassion is part of my life. And it made me think that actually some people won't have that. Like some people might look at that question and go, well, what is self-compassion? What am I doing for myself in that way? But for me, and I think this possibly may be the influence of our relationship as well, because this is a two-way street. And all of the people that I come across and work with, and I gain these fantastic friendships and relationships with, you all alter me as well. You all grow me in your ways. And obviously, self-compassion is something that you strongly educate us on. And it's always something that now is quite close to the forefront of my mind pretty much daily. In terms of my emotional toolkit, it's always there. And having it there, and having it be a focus, and having it be something that I can lean on and use, is probably one of the most powerful things that I have in my emotional toolkit. And probably the one that I use the most, because my inner critic is a real bitch. Like she is, she is. I hope it was okay that I swore.
Yeah, it's fine.
She is rude. And not to go too far into the whole kind of like childhood trauma thing or anything, but I am the granddaughter of a raging alcoholic. And a lot of people will say, well, you know, you're the granddaughter of, but those things, they stay in your gene line.
Yeah.
You know, so there are wounds that I'm carrying that inner critic just seems to be able to tap into. And she is like a horrendously nasty drunk. Like that's what she is when I speak to myself. And from the way I'm talking, you can probably tell I've already separated my first self-compassion. I've already split that identity and separate it. I take no responsibility for my inner critic, because she's not me.
Because she's not you.
Yeah. And I won't take responsibility for that, because, and when those negative feelings come up, when those things that I tell myself come up, I'm able to make that differentiation that actually that's not me, and I don't have to feel bad about the way that I feel. That's my first kind of element of self-compassion. Don't beat myself up about those moments when I'll sit there, I'll have that feeling. I'm really good at telling myself that I'm stupid. Like, oh, why did that thing happen? You're so stupid. And I will actively take a second to go, that's not me. I don't own that. And it's a little bit like when you meditate and you say, like, oh, thoughts come and you shouldn't try to fight them. I also suffer with thoughts as well. So this is a similar practice for all three things that would, otherwise derail me. And okay, that's the thought. I recognize the thought. I don't own that thought. It doesn't belong to me. I'm not taking it on. Thank you and no. I'm going to let it go. And that is really, really powerful for me, because it is a 30-second job is something that previously I would have ruminated on for weeks. The derailment of those emotions could have spanned for weeks.
And when we ruminate on something, it allows for the cracks, and it allows then for other things to come in, like anxiety and the stress, and kind of it then just has this amazing place to grow when we ruminate and when we procrastinate as well. When they both open up the cracks for all the other emotions, all the I don't use positive and negative emotions, actually. I think because I think emotions just are emotions. but they allow, the cracks allow for the more difficult ones, the more painful ones to take hold and to grow within, and so they then feel like they're getting bigger. But like you say, when you take kind of 30 seconds to go, do I want to listen to this? Is it true? Is it helpful to me?
Yeah.
Is it my voice? Do I need to accept it? And if you can say no to most of those, then you allow yourself to be able to shift into a place of self-compassion that says, okay, what do I need to do for me right now then in this moment?
Yeah, and it's about not beating yourself up for having that thought as well, because when you're on this journey of actually having a deeper level of personal self-awareness and understanding, sometimes you can get the opportunities to think that you're doing something wrong. It's like the toxic positivity thing. You can accidentally fall into this other trap. It's a different trap, but it's still a trap of the fact that because you still have that inner critic, that perhaps you're not doing something right, or you're not identifying with things correctly. And then you can beat yourself up for having that thought. But self-regulation actually is not a bad thing. So I'm not talking like accepting your inner critic now, but checking yourself before you wreck yourself is definitely a thing. So you if you do have that moment and you do have that emotion, you do have that feeling, then it's about allowing yourself to be a flawed human being and still be worthy, and for it not to be the thing that's the important, this isn't the important thing about you. And so when those feelings come up, or if I've had a crummy day, or if I've not been the best version of myself, because I'm always striving to be the best version of myself, I always give myself a break. I recognize it, I look at it, I see what can I learn from it. Is there anything that I need to do right now to make me feel differently? Is there anything I need to do in a, from a longer term point of view so that doesn't happen again? I also look at whether it affected anybody else. Because on the days when I'm not my best self, I might snap at my kids, or I might not talk nicely to my husband. You know what I mean? Or there might be a tone or a facial expression that really wasn't necessary. And those types of things, they still happen. And people don't think that they happen to me, because obviously I, most of the time, don't come from that place, but I'm still human. And and not giving myself a hard time over that, and recognizing that actually, I'm doing compared to like the person I was this time last year, I'm doing so good. And as long as I'm always in that place where I am self-regulated, I can recognize what to take on, what not to take on, and I'm moving forward, then I give myself a break. I don't let it knock me off kilter.
Good. That's great. I'm so glad about it.
What, you'd be so proud of me.
I am immensely proud of you. If I could hug you right now, I would. Because it is about self-regulation. Sorry, Emma's been commenting. She's saying, I'm still learning and growing on a personal level, and it will take time. Emma, it does take time, but the one gift that you can give yourself is the time to do that. And so if you say to yourself, I'm going to do this for me because this is what I need, and this is what I want, and this is what will help me grow, help me, be the best person that I can possibly be for myself, then you're giving yourself an amazing gift. So gift yourself the time. It's okay. It will take time. Self-compassion is a continuing journey. You will never reach kind of the pinnacle of it, because it will ebb and flow, and there will be times when you perhaps don't bring it into your life so quickly and readily as you probably need to, because other things perhaps get in the way. But it's just an ongoing journey, self-compassion, and the more you give it to yourself, the more you learn about it, the more that you learn about yourself actually in that process. The more you understand actually how important it is in healing. how relationship. There we go. I thought my internet was going then. I'm in a bit of a dodgy internet area. So giving yourself the time to do that, it is absolutely fine, because it's a gift. And you will notice more and more about self-compassion as you give yourself that time, and you will learn more and more about yourself and what you can give to the world and what the world's going to give you back by doing that. Yeah. So that was a long answer to your statement, Emma. That was a little therapeutic interlude from Helen. But Dawni, do you think there was a kind of a pivotal kind of moment, a pivotal experience in your life that you kind of went, I need to be doing something different. I need to not be, beating myself up. I need to not be doing the things that I was doing to myself. For some people, there's a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors. There's a lot of, the self-limiting beliefs. Do you think there was an experience or a pivotal moment that you went, I've got to do something different?
Yes, there was. And it was a very common thing that happened to me, but for me, it was quite profound. So, I mean, I think you probably know this, but for the benefit of the people watching, my whole life I've been quite people pleasing, and I used to accept what people said.
I think, Dawni, I think you've frozen.
Oh no!
I'm gonna carry on talking. I'm presuming that everybody's still here. Hopefully, Dawni will come back in a second.
Oh no!
I think she's just frozen. I know she's in the middle of London, in probably with, but hopefully back. Emma, if you are still watching, could you? No, Eldornio is fine. She's right. She's there. So I don't know who froze Dawni, whether it was me or you, but I was still talking.
I was looking at my phone because I was like, I think I'm still here, but maybe I'm not. I was just going to have a look and see if I could find us.
This is live TV. That's essentially what it is. We're on live TV. So I'm sorry. I asked the question, you started to answer, and then we got glitchy. But,
yeah, don't worry. I remember. So before a certain stage, I was very, very people pleasing. But I mean, I'm still people pleasing because I care about people. I adore people. But what happened for me was I'd gotten into a state where I'd actually started to accept what other people were saying about me, in terms of what my level of possibilities were, and all of those different things about who I was as a person, what I had available to me. So it was almost like I took on other people's limiting beliefs, that allowed me to kind of use that as evidence that all my worst fears were true. Right. That I wasn't good enough, that I would never amount to more than I was, that I didn't have what it takes. Those things, those secret things that probably most humans feel, but maybe don't always openly admit. And I slowly but surely, over a number of years, tried really hard to beat that feeling, but at that same time was also consuming and holding onto those narratives. And then I had what I call my cataclysmic work event, which I won't go into too much detail, but basically I had a situation with a manager that was very, very difficult. They felt that I wasn't doing my job correctly. I felt like I was doing my job correctly. It became emotionally distraught. Anxiety came up for me. I've always been like high functioning, but always had some level of anxiety my entire life. But it really came to the front, and I was just like a bubbling volcano for months and months and months. And then we had our eruption event. And I sat in this office that in a meeting I didn't know I was going to have. being told that I needed to sign a paper that said that I wasn't, able to perform in the tasks and role that I'd been given. And in that moment, something changed inside of me where I thought, actually, no. And it was a massive awakening for me. But it came with an emotional storm. I don't like conflict. I've never been very good at standing up for myself. Boundaries, what the hell are they? Like, oh, something's on fire. Let me lay down on the fire so your feet don't get warm, was my kind of default area. So in that moment, I don't know what happened. It was like a fire in the belly type of situation. I was pregnant with Jack as well. And there is a part of me that thinks that Jack just lended me a piece of his personality for the moment. You know what I mean? Like, because he's so bold, he's so confident and strong and bold like his dad. And I wondered if whether it was him that
channeling through you.
Like finally, literally and finally, I had a set of balls, and I could just say no. And it was a strange situation because, the volcano erupted. I said no. I disagreed. I not only did I welcome conflict, I started it, and I started it really quite strong. I mean, I started it in a flood of tears. I was an emotional hurricane, but I still put my foot down and said, no, I'm not actually accepting this, because it felt very significant to me to sign something that basically, I mean, first and foremost, I strongly disagreed with, but the symbolism of signing something that basically says you're not good enough.
You're not good enough. Yeah.
I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. And that was the moment that first of all, I had to forgive myself. There was self-compassion that needed to happen. I had to forgive myself for the emotional backlash that came from that spanned for years. I found that very difficult because on the hard days, you can't help but do that whole, why did you do that, Dawn? Why didn't you just, comply? You've kicked up a stink, and now you have to live with the stink, and today the stink's too much, and that's your own fault because you kicked up the stink. And I had to give myself that level of self-compassion of, actually, no, this stink needed to happen because you just don't know where that other path would have led, and you did the right thing. And it's about almost being able to self-identify when the choice is hard, but it's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things, you were saying about boundaries, and kind of one of the things that is, I always find really important, because I do bioenergetic therapy, where I support women to feel the boundary that they're wanting to put in place, that is connected with the need and the want of why that boundary needs to happen, and the physicality of actually feeling what that boundary, physically feeling what that boundary is going to do, is incredibly what if people don't love me anymore? What if people don't like me anymore? What if this happens? What if that happens? And we start to go down that route. Whereas if you actually connect with what it's going to physically feel like to have that need met and to have that want put in place, it's an incredibly powerful tool.
Yeah.
And boundaries are really difficult for people. And, you often see the statement, no is a complete sentence. It absolutely is. But it often comes actually with also other things around it. No, because I need this. No, because I want this. Yeah, no, because I need this to happen for me. So it is a complete sentence, but it has, I think, a lot more layers to it for people.
There's more to it, for sure.
I'm very passionate about boundaries.
No, I love it. I mean, essentially, boundaries are a form of self-compassion, right?
Yeah, they're intrinsically linked with self-compassion. Because they alongside with your values, because your boundaries and your values are deeply connected. They're your handrails in life. You know, so when you're going across that rickety bridge over a canyon that is your life, then you're wondering what the next step is and whether the board's going to stay stable. You know, as you're going across the handrails, those handrails are your values and your boundaries, and they are the ones that will keep you safe. They're the ones that are going to keep you secure and safe in yourself, and not allow for any intrusion on you being you and looking after you and being your real self.
Yeah. I love
they allow
that.
you to embody who you are.
Yeah, and so many people, when they talk about boundaries now, because obviously in a lot of the circles that we know in that female entrepreneur online world, we use boundaries almost as the header for when you're not available for clients, or you know, what you expect in terms of your working relationships. But there are other boundaries actually, and just for you as the person, boundaries that should be executed for every single area of your life, depending on what it is that you need and how you feel. It's not just about when you switch your out of office on your email. It's actually about, you know, how you will allow yourself to be, you know, spoken to, the energies that you will be around.
The energy
Like if you're in a group of people and, you know, they get into that gossipy slagging off space, and, you know, if you're the person that says, sorry, I don't subscribe to this, I can't be in this arena right now, I need to leave, so I wish you all well, and I'm gonna go.
I've lost the internet, I think.
Oh no, you're still there. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Are you still there, Dawn?
Yes.
I don't know whether, I think I've frozen again. I'm going to carry on talking. I can't hear you, Dawn, but there we are. You're back. I'm back.
Oh, I was going to say, you were there, you'd frozen, but we could hear you.
Yeah, you disappeared on me. I think there's just a StreamYard glitchy nonsense going on this morning. But I could hear you.
Oh, good. So yeah, I mean, those boundaries for every area of your life, What do you need? How do you make that happen? How can you be the architect of really ensuring that you have the best?
I can hear you, but you've frozen for me on the screen. So I'm going to just, because I don't, right, Emma can still see and hear us both. So I'm going to carry on. I feel like I'm kind of talking to a blank screen at the moment. It freaks me out every time, this. Absolutely freaks me out. I was just looking at the comments from Emma that she said that's me worrying people won't like me. Do you know what, Emma? There's always going to be people that don't like you.
Yeah.
And therefore they're not your people. You know, if somebody doesn't like you, you have to ask yourself, well, is that important? Do I give that more value than the value I give to myself? So yeah, I've got lots of people that don't like me. It doesn't really bother me anymore. It doesn't really bother me anymore. You know, it used to, but it doesn't now. And I think for me, Emma, one of the things that kind of really helped me with that is I had to put some very strict boundaries in place a few years back, which meant that I lost important people in my life. And so, but, you know, I had to make that decision for me because I had to give myself more value than I was giving the negative toxicity that was coming from other people. So, you know, if everybody was liked in the world, it would be a lovely place. But, you know, at the same time, we're all human. We get to choose who we like and we don't like. And if somebody doesn't like you, then they're not your person. And that's okay.
Right. And I think as well, if you think about when you don't like somebody, because I like to go down this rabbit hole occasionally, and I'll pick a person who I don't have that, you know, resonating feeling with, and I'll try and figure out what it is that makes me feel that way about them. Because quite often we will say, oh, I don't like that person, but we don't necessarily always know why. It's just a vibe or a feeling. And there have been many times when I've actually said, I don't like that person because they're too loud, or they're too this, or they're too that. And actually, when I unpick it, it's because they trigger something in me, and that might be jealousy, or it might be, you know, I feel like they've hit a nerve in terms of my ego, or and not all the time. Sometimes there are just people that I see and think, no, sorry, you're just not my cup of tea. But occasionally you can identify that actually the thing that makes you not feel good with that person is actually because they're tapping into something that makes you feel bad about yourself, something that you have to own. And that was a really good moment for me, because now when I know that people don't like me, and there were certain people who I know can't stand me that I would have really have liked to have been friends with, and it helps me to go, well, there's a chance that maybe it's not about me. Maybe it's not about me. Maybe I just bring something up in that person that they're not really ready to deal with, or that they aren't aware of, or whatever that is. Something that's linked to their identity. Somebody said to me once, I don't like you, Dawn. You're too nice and fluffy and pink. I don't think it's real. It's fake. That's not about me.
No. Oh, I've had similar. I've had you're too strong.
Damn you for being too strong,
Damn
Helen.
you, empowered Helen. Damn you, empowered Helen. I literally have. I've had, you're too threatening. I've had that because.
But are you threatening, or are they threatened?
They're threatened.
That's two different things, isn't it?
Different. I'm very strong. I'm very opinionated at times. I am my mother's daughter on that one. My dad has a softer, or did have a softer edge to him, whereas I'm my mum. I'll say it, and I do actually now stop and think. I never used to. I used to just blurt out what I thought, but now I don't. But people kind of see this confident, strong, independent thinking, intelligent, successful. I'm very proud to have been successful and highly successful in my therapeutic work, and to have worked so well across the board with different age groups. But people feel threatened by that. And one person in my life that I did have to separate myself out from was purely because they were jealous, they were envious, they were not in that place themselves, and I probably triggered in them what they couldn't find for themselves and couldn't do for themselves at that point. So you have to, I do the rabbit hole thing as well. So I start thinking about, well, why is that? And I'm kind of pretty cool with people not liking me if they don't want to spend time with me. That's fine.
Some people still feel that way, where it is a constant kind of battle to try and get everybody to like you, because you feel like you don't want anyone to not like you. But actually, it's really, really good if somebody doesn't like you. It's great, because we're not all meant to be buddies. So let them eliminate themselves. It clears the way for more of your people, and it allows you to have more enriched relationships. And this is the thing that I never really understood. You can get yourself jammed up with all of these experiences that are actually not for you, because you're trying to go for everything all at once. Refine things down like a fine wine, darlings, and enjoy the real good stuff. Don't just accept all of it.
Don't be a wine in a box. Do you know what I mean? Sure. It's like be the exclusive wine. It's fine to be the exclusive wine, and the slightly more expensive, the more unique. I just want to. I didn't want to lose this comment from Emma. I struggle setting boundaries because I think I may lose clients if I don't respond straight away, or people won't like me if I don't agree to what they say, etc. It's a difficult one, because I too, I challenge clients. Obviously, the work that I do inevitably challenges clients to think differently about themselves, and I have to put boundaries in place in my client work, because some people do consider me an emergency service. So I get messages that, quite rightly, some of them quite late at night, but for additional support. But you do have to put in boundaries, and people will respect you for that. Those clients that are your clients, they will respect you for putting those boundaries in place, Emma. If you have to do that. They will, those that truly are connected with you and truly are your clients, the people that you want to work with and they want to work with you, they will respond respectfully to those boundaries.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would say, sorry.
When it comes to like figuring out who your ideal clients are, you have to look at things like that as well. And also, one thing that I would love to kind of express is that quite often when people email us or message us out of the time that we might be available, or they feel like they might be pushing that boundary, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just so busy that task came up for them in that moment. I know I've had 1,000,001 times when I have got a message at 8 o'clock on a Saturday and I've jumped because of that feeling that Emma's just expressed. I mean, I don't do it now, but it has happened a lot in the past. And then what I'll get, because I am so good at connecting with my ideal clients, is once I've sorted that, I'll get a message back that says, "Oh, Dawn, I wasn't expecting you to do that now. I just wanted to get that off my chest so I know I'd ask the question, like, come back to me on Monday." And that's happened to me a lot. So it's good to just not respond and have your own boundaries and not worry about it, but don't automatically allow that creeping of fear that the person on the other end will run away and not use you because you haven't immediately because sometimes their agenda, we don't think about their agenda, but their agenda might not always be for an immediate response. It probably is different with you, Helen, that when they're messaging you, they are wanting an emergency service.
They are generally wanting an immediate response. I've actually had to put it in my terms and conditions now.
Different
there's a time frame by which they should expect a response. But I sit here feeling not guilty, but I acknowledge the fact that I am that person, Dawni, that has messaged you at 11 o'clock at night and kind of literally that's fine. Usually I finish work about 10, 11 o'clock at night. So that's when I'm.
And that's it, right? That's it. Yeah. I mean, we know it. And lovingly, sometimes I will see the notification come up. And if I'm already in bed or something, what I do try to do is I try not to read it, because if I read it, then danger zone. I'll try to leave it on unread so that in the morning when I'm actually back at it, because the other thing is as well, it's a quality thing. And we've gone off a little bit from the self-compassion.
We have gone off on yeah.
But it's a quality thing. I know you're not going to get the best of me at 11 o'clock at night when I'm already in my PJs in bed. So
people, when I get my messages, it depends. I do read them. And those that are, I mean,
you have to filter
suicidal in Italy, so I had to, I had to respond to that. But if it's, can I change my appointment? It's kind of, I'm not going to respond to that straight away. But
that's it. Flag that message, turn back over.
I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that when, tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow for that message. Emma, love this. Feel like I've had the sport of two legends this morning. We have gone slightly off track, but not completely off track. It's still about self-compassion. It's still about acknowledging ourselves within there as entrepreneurial women.
Yeah, that the river still runs to the sea.
Yeah. So where were we? Yeah. I had to get my head back on track. That happens in therapy with me. If anybody's ever wondering, I do sit there and just go off onto stare at a wall and go, where was I going with it? And people are going to go, are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. Yeah, I was thinking. So Dawni, when it comes to kind of self-compassion and kind of the work that you offer women now, and you said it right at the very beginning, but I'd love to kind of just end with this part of the conversation with, having that self-compassion that you have embraced and welcomed into your life, and it's had its obstacles that we've talked about them, boundaries and things like that you've needed to overcome to actually accept self-compassion and let it ebb and flow with you in the work that you do now. And you've kind of, your growth over the last few years has been massive too. So, keeping hold of self-compassion in that when everything else, when there's all these demands and all this growth that, and, as somebody, who knows you and values you, to see your growth over the last couple of years has been wonderful and inspirational to see. But I wondered kind of, where self-compassion sits now in the work that you do, with your clients, the work that you're doing in your business with your team, where does it sit with you now?
So it sits in 3 places for me. It sits in belief, it sits in habit, and it sits in practice. And that is my main kind of 3 pillars for self-compassion for every aspect, whether it's for myself, for clients, for team. When we go through the journey of trying to be more, trying to understand ourselves better, and trying to have growth personally. And so many people find personal growth on the pursuit of business growth. It's like, they get on I want to be a successful business owner train, and they think it's a one direct train to success. But in fact, the first stop that we always come to is this element of fear, and then the self-compassion area that we need to work on. So the first thing is that, there's so many people, so many clients that have come to me that will say, I don't want to do a certain thing, or I don't feel that this particular thing will work for me, or I don't resonate with it. And when you actually work back, you reverse engineer it, it comes into the belief. It comes right back to the belief of, actually, who am I to do this? I'm not worthy to do this. And they don't have any belief. They have zero belief that they deserve, and therefore the self-compassion that they should have been kind of tapping into to be able to reconstruct that feeling, they never have. I'm not worthy, therefore I don't deserve to take care of myself. I don't deserve to put myself in that place where I actually give myself a break, or I allow myself to invest in myself as a person. Or sometimes I will work with a client, and simple things that are so effective, that are so important for us physiologically as well as emotionally. Things like getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, being able to appreciate the micro pleasures in life and actually allow them to be a conscious thought throughout the days. None of that's even there. And sometimes, I've had clients that consider taking a bath for half an hour a luxury. They have lost themselves so far in the task and the role that their identity is tied up in all of these things that they must perform. And none of those performances include taking care of themselves deeply and truly in any aspect of their life. So you first have to believe it. You first have to get yourself into a situation. I don't want to use the word mindset, but you need to do what you need to do in order to choose your thoughts. Allow yourself to entertain different thoughts to the ones that have been your default, and try these things on and see if you can get comfortable with the idea that actually you do need to take really damn good care of yourself, because the one constant that you have in your life is you. And self-compassion is a definite necessity. It's not a luxury. So that's kind of the first thing. Then even if you get to the point where, yes, I believe wholly in self-compassion, I do practice self-compassion, I know what I need to do with self-compassion. If you don't have it as a habit, if you don't have it as something that you can genuinely reconnect to, just like a prompt, just like a little prompt to make sure that it's never quite going off the boil, it's always there available, then I think that's really good. Because there have been times for me, and my morning routine at the moment is under construction, but one of the things that I've always found quite good is when I'm kind of regulating, when I'm checking how I feel, I'm checking what's happened to me, and I'm kind of connecting on a deeper level with all of the stuff that happens, and just trying to kind of make sense of it. There are often times that I would have missed an opportunity to give myself self-compassion because I'm too busy, or because it doesn't seem like it's relevant, or it doesn't seem like it's important, when in fact that in itself could have been a seed that grew that could have caused different things in the future that wouldn't have been good. So I've managed to catch it and give myself the opportunity to deal with it. And that is where the practice comes in. If you recognize then in yourself a moment where you need self-compassion, and this is, I always use burnout as a really good example of this, because I've gotten to the point now where I can self-regulate, that I can feel burnout coming before it hits. It's like being able to sense that it's going to rain without seeing a grey cloud, but being able to feel it in the atmosphere. And that I will then, that's when I'll kick off my self-compassion and go, right, okay, what do I need?
What do I need? Yeah.
Yeah. In this moment, what is it that I need? And if that means I need to turn the computer off and I need to go away, then I'll do it. Or if I need to, recognize that there's something happening in a relationship and I need to have a hard conversation, and there's an act of self-compassion in that communication and clearing that feeling, then I'll do it. I do the hard things that I would previously hide from. All the monsters under my bed now get dragged out, and I learn their names and we discuss, and then I open the door and I let them leave.
Let them leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't need to be under the bed.
I drag them out. I force them to tell me about themselves so I can deal with them and then kick them out. And I think that's for everybody that we encounter, those are the 3 pillars that we use in order to maintain it in a doable way as well. Because the other thing is as well is that what I think is so interesting about our industry is that everybody has an understanding or an idea of what they think should be done in order for us to keep our emotional and mental health in check, right? And if you could speak to 600 gurus, you're qualified. You're a qualified therapist, so you're not just trauma informed. You're not a coach that's gone and done an NLP course. And not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but what I mean is that there's so many different people out there that will give you what they believe you should do in order to be able to feel better about yourself, or to be able to perform at a higher level. And actually, I think what it comes down to is really knowing where your sources of inspiration are coming from, and really making that a very, very unique, bespoke thing for you. And if you can speak to you or somebody like you, Helen, who can perhaps help you unpick it to the point where you can build that for yourself. And self-compassion is one of those things that it's not the same as taking a shower, meditating and drinking some green juice. It is part of your internal toolkit, and it is something that really needs to be practiced daily. And one of my friends absolutely, that's where the habit comes in. One of my really good friends, Lisa Sapie, she's an absolutely amazing woman, and you'll meet her soon, Helen. She said to me that sometimes when she's thinking about external things as well, but also internal moments, she looks at herself in a different way. And instead of beating herself up because she is her, she looks at it as though she isn't her. And the question she asks herself is, what would love do here?
Yeah.
And when she said that to me, it gave me goosebumps, because we so often, my daughter will come to me and say, oh, this thing happened and I feel this way. And literally there's not a damn thing in the world that girl could do where I wouldn't have compassion for her situation. But we so often don't do that for ourselves. We speak kindly to all of the people around us that we love.
Exactly.
And we don't love ourselves. We just don't allow ourselves that level of love and support. And I mean, I think we are great examples for anybody out there who isn't tapping into their self-compassion, that whatever your motivation is, it's okay if you came here with the motivation to, perform better at work, in your career or in your business or whatever. It's okay if you came here just to understand yourself better, or to clear the mental fog. It really doesn't matter. But what can happen when you use self-compassion is that it can unlock so many good areas that make day-to-day easier. It just makes everything easier.
And it's amazing how people experience it when they let it in, when they unlock it and they say, because we're wired for compassion. Deep down in our mammalian brain, we are wired for. I'm not going to give a lecture on neuroscience of compassion and trauma, but we are literally wired for compassion, and our brains are wired for it. Our nerves are wired for it. So it's there. So if we can give it, then we have to be able to receive it from ourselves.
Yeah.
And so the first, I would say to anybody that starts working with me, that the first self-compassionate act that they did, because they say, oh no, I'm not self-compassionate, I don't do this. And I said, well, I'm going to disagree, because the first self-compassionate act that you did was pick up the phone and speak to me.
Yes, absolutely.
You recognized that you needed something. Yeah. That you needed something for you. You needed to shift from where you are to where you want to be, to who you want to be.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of like a moment where they kind of go, oh gosh, yeah, I did, didn't I? It's like, yeah. So don't think that it's not there. Self-compassion is there. Just start noticing it.
Yeah.
Start noticing it and start allowing yourself to observe it and feel it and
stack it. Once you do one thing, do more of it. Like
build
on it. Because it's like a muscle that you need to practice if you're not the type of person who operates in that way. Like that first moment of self-compassion, look around you, nothing imploded, nothing exploded, everything was fine. No. It was, you can do it and it will be okay. So then
and actually what it turns out to be is life-changing.
Yeah, that's it. And what's great about it is it does work in that way as well. It's like a ladder, isn't it? Once you get your first foot on the ladder of self-compassion, it allows you to unlock the next step and the next step and the next step. You don't need to see the entire journey. You don't need to see the entire destination. You just need to be able to take that next step. And every time you do, it's like shedding weighted armor. And everything getting lighter every time you up level in that arena. And that's why, just to kind of circle back to my industry, that's why when you see like high flying, high performing entrepreneurs making loads of money, swanning about with not a care in the world, this is the kind of work that people don't recognize is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, some people do fake it, and I'm not suggesting that they don't, but the ones that aren't faking it, that are really living that truth and are authentically feeling great, earning money, and feel light and free, there's a hella load of emotional and mental work that has gone into that.
Goes on.
Yeah. Don't think for 1 minute anybody's walking around able to be that free.
Able to be that. It doesn't. No, because actually, with all the success, with the work, with the moving forward, with the creating a business, with the entrepreneurial journey, with the come so many knocks that it actually, if we absorbed all of those knocks, we probably would stop. But what we have to do is do a significant amount of work behind the scenes. I do, I absorb everybody's trauma and their emotional, compassion fatigue for me could set in quite easily if I didn't do the work behind the scenes. That meant that I can still provide what I need to provide for the women, and I still occasionally still work with neurodiverse children. But the work that I do with adults, with women, I have to do a lot of work behind the scenes to look after myself, because I also have a house, I have a family, I have, there's all the other things that you still have to maintain. And so it can feel, that if you don't, what happens is if you don't start looking after yourself, if you don't start welcoming self-compassion in, if you don't start noticing it and getting on that first step, then you're going to go into burnout.
Yeah.
You're going to go into emotional overwhelm. You're going to go into burnout, and you're going to go into the self-sabotaging behaviors. So it's, self-compassion is crucial.
Yeah, it
in
absolutely is. And it's
allowing us to be the successful touchwood women that we are. No, it's not touchwood. I've worked bloody hard, so have you. But,
we stacked the odds in our favor, right? This is one of the ways that we stacked the odds in our favor. And you're so right, Helen. And I think what else I love about the message that you send, and I get quite passionate about what you do because I just think it's absolutely wonderful, is that, we can give you, first of all, I don't know how you do it. I do not know how you do it. That's a different level, of course, but that's a lot. But we go around, and when we support other people, that compassion fatigue is usually, it hits at the point that we would look inwardly, which is why, much like everything else, when we do that whole thing and we say your oxygen mask first, that self-compassion, you shouldn't be at the bottom of that list. You have to be at the top of that list, because if you're not able to give yourself that compassion first, you're not going to have the energetic field. You're not going to be able to actually take that outward and help other people, right? And we're so good at being compassionate outside of ourselves, like you say, we're wired for it, and it's a given. And for a lot of us that had okay childhoods, and were able to see role models that displayed at least a certain level of compassion for other human beings, we recognize it, and we've been raised with it, but not necessarily. And this is what I think so wonderful about this being alive in this time, is that actually the shift it's happened. People are now being educated and more aware, and seeing active role models for self-compassion, whereas maybe that wasn't something that we grew up with.
Something that was, yeah. If I think about, kind of even my mum and dad, the idea of self-compassion. I mean, God, if I had that conversation with my mom, she'd be like, "What?" Because she was, just generationally it's a shift.
Yeah.
Generationally it's a shift. And I see in my, I was working with occasionally I work with men. They get through the pink branding, and they kind of come through. But actually, a lovely young man, and recently had recently come out as gay, and was really kind of struggling with the whole, not the whole idea of it, but what's his place? How does he sit with himself in this world? And I did a lot of kind of self-compassion work with him. It wasn't trauma work necessarily, but there was a whole load of self-compassion work and worksheets that I have for him. And he messaged me recently, and he said, "Thank you for setting me on this journey. I'm so much kinder to myself now. I know what I need, and I'm not going to deny it." And it was such a lovely message to receive from him. And I think it's an important message to get out there for people. Don't deny it. Allow yourself to feel it. Allow yourself to be it, and your life will change. Your life will absolutely change.
Yeah.
Dawni, I could talk to you all day. I say it every week with everyone, but literally, I know that you and I could talk all day.
We could do this all day long. Yeah.
But you have given some amazing inspirational, I was about to say tip, I'm going to say advice. The things that you've shared, your experience of self-compassion, where it fits with you, is just such an inspiration. If there's one, I mean, we have given kind of tips, but if there's one thing that you could say to people listening, watching on replay about self-compassion, what would your one bit of advice be today to start?
So I actually think my one bit of advice is going to be two bits of advice. Sorry.
I knew it wouldn't be one.
We'll roll it into one, but it has two parts. The first thing would be just to make sure that it's you. And you put yourself at the top of that list, because if you don't, it's so easy to to appreciate the self-compassion, to give yourself that moment of recognizing what you need, and then not take the action. And it is taking the action and repeatedly putting yourself at the top of the list and taking that action that will make it feel easier on a day-to-day. And today you might have the odds stacked against you if today's the first day that you've even considered giving yourself that self-love and forgiveness and whatever it is you need in that moment. That might feel a bit peculiar, so just take that one baby step for me today, and then do it again tomorrow, and then before you know it, you get into a state where it's just like breathing and walking. You don't necessarily always know that you're doing it, because once you have exercised that muscle and it becomes part of the way you operate, it's very easy, and it's not actually taxing. You don't have to tap into any kind of like horrible feelings around it or anything like that. It really can be just a beautiful way to live, but you need to make that first step, and you need to make sure that the first person who gets that energy that you hold inside of you as a human, that first person who gets it should be you.
Yeah. Got goosebumps. That's absolutely right. And thank you, Dawni. It's a beautiful message to end on. Thank you for today. Thank you for joining me. I think it's been, Emma's been with us for the hour. I know
Bob's been with us the whole time. She never leaves us. She's right there.
She never leaves us. I know a lot of people actually watch on replay, so there may be some additional comments later. But Emma says, this has been brilliant. Thank you, lovely ladies. Thank you, Emma, for being here. Thank you for all your comments too, and for sharing your struggles as well.
Yeah.
And I hope that we've been able to kind of help you think differently about self-compassion and letting it in. So, Dawni, just because I say to everyone, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Oh, I'm everywhere. I'm all over the internet.
I know. World domination, I know. This is why I called you a powerhouse. This is why I said you're the UK leading female entrepreneur in business systems and strategy. Come on.
It was amazing. I read it and I was like, damn, I really love that. Like, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I'm so good these days, which I take great pride in. Back in the day, I used to Google Dawni Baxter, and it wouldn't be me. It would be somebody else. And now if you Google me, I'm all over the place. So thanks for that, Google. And but Facebook and Instagram is probably the best place to find me. My handles are Beyond the Dawn. On Instagram, it's Beyond the underline Dawn, because there is actually a rock band called Beyond the Dawn. So I couldn't have the original account. I have to go for the secondary one. But you will find me. I'm right there. So that's the best place.
Brilliant. Oh, and thank you for taking the time out this morning. I know you're incredibly busy, and giving the space this morning for this conversation. I think it's been a really inspirational, wonderful conversation for anybody watching that is struggling with self-compassion and struggling to think how to bring it in. Well, we've talked about it here, and they can find their place with it. Absolutely. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, darling. I really enjoy it. And I think what you're doing,
I'm going to love you and leave you. Sorry?
I think what you're doing is amazing. I love these conversations. I think it's really powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. My intention is for them to be powerful. So thank you. It's long may they continue. So Dawni, thank you. I'm not going to do the weird wave that lots of people do at the end of like Zoom calls and stuff. So I try to make sure that I don't do that. So I'm going to.
Wave.
You can do the Queen wave. I'm going to do a gratitude. Thank you. And lots of love and compassion to you, and lots of love and compassion to everybody watching. And I hope you have a wonderful day. All right. So take care. See you next week, and enjoy the rest of your week.